President Barack Obama said the United States is turning the page on a depressed economy and a war in Afghanistan and is poised to write a new, more positive chapter with an emphasis on the health and well-being of America's middle class. The president made his remarks during this week's 2015 State of the Union address, covering a wide range of topics from climate change to international relations and infrastructure investment. The president focused on what he calls middle-class economics, proposing child care tax credits, an increased minimum wage, and free community college.
Middle-class economics works. Expanding opportunity works. And these policies will continue to work as long as politics don't get in the way. We can't slow down businesses or put our economy at risk with government shutdowns or fiscal showdowns. We can't put the security of families at risk by taking away their health insurance or unraveling the new rules on Wall Street or refighting past battles on immigration when we've got to fix a broken system. And if a bill comes to my desk that tries to do any of these things, I will veto it. It will have earned my veto.
Despite the veto threat, President Obama vowed to seek out Republican ideas and work in a bipartisan fashion with the Republican-controlled Congress. Following the president's remarks to the nation, one Indiana politician on the other side of the aisle expressed skepticism about President Obama's fiscal agenda. Republican Senator Dan Coats, newly elected chairman-designate of the Congressional Joint Economic Committee, says what he heard from the president this week was nothing new. The senator says the president's focus on the middle class will not benefit the nation's current economy. The senator added that both Republicans and Democrats have to work together to bring their new ideas to the House, and he scolded the president for relying on a business-as-usual political playbook.
And now we hear from the president that it's more of the same old stuff. More taxes, more spending, more government. That is not what we have been elected to do. We're going to work together in a cooperative way and send good legislation that strengthens our economy, puts Americans back to work. And we're going to lay that at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I hope the president will support that.
Coates says though Republicans hold a supermajority in both the House and Senate, he expects some upcoming legislation to have bipartisan support. This past week, Hoosiers joined the nation in celebrating the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. King was a proponent of nonviolent protest and a key leader in the American Civil Rights Movement until his assassination in 1968. While many citizens honored his memory with a day of service, others participated in rallies, prayer vigils, and marches. Governor Mike Pence said that Martin Luther King Jr.'s dedication to justice and progress has made a huge impact on our nation and on the state of Indiana, and that even today, we feel the innumerable effects and gravity of his leadership. Governor Pence went on to exhort Hoosiers to keep Dr. King's memory alive and embody his strength and persistence for progress in the fight for civil rights. While the state's top leader was honoring a king, the state's first lady was honoring the governor's State of the State promise to make maternal health a Hoosier priority. Karen Pence was in the Capitol this month as the Indiana Department of Health launched the Labor of Love campaign. The initiative, which includes statewide public service announcements and social media campaigns, is an effort to spread awareness about infant mortality and ways to promote healthier babies and moms. Indiana Deputy Health Commissioner Jennifer Walhall says Indiana consistently ranks in the bottom nationally for a dismal statistic, the death of babies before his or her first birthday.
Indiana has a long way to go, especially when it comes to disparities in maternal health and infant mortality. And that's why it was mentioned in the State of the State, to make sure that our services are delivered to patients regardless of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, to ensure the healthy delivery and care for our most vulnerable patients, which are infants.
The initiative focuses on education to ensure more Hoosier babies survive their first year of life by promoting simple measures like early prenatal care and safe sleep practices. More information can be found by calling 211. Some area elected officials are set to work on a few initiatives of their own. At least 3 mayoral candidates in this year's primary race will be incumbents. In a public statement, Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott confirmed he filed for re-election this week at the Lake County Government Center in Crown Point. Lake Station Mayor Keith Soderquist also filed for re-election Wednesday, despite being recently indicted on federal charges. Soderquist told Lakeshore Report that several residents have urged him to run for a third time, and he says the city is better despite the current problems he's facing. Earlier this month, Gary Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson filed for her slot in the mayoral primary, saying the city is on the right path. The election is set for the first Tuesday in May. Safety officials from the Lake County Sheriff's Office and the Highland Police Department are still on heightened alert after a threat was made against Highland High School on Wednesday. Highland Police monitored students going to and from class throughout the week after police say they received a call from a Dallas area phone number threatening to shoot students at the high school. Highland Police Commander George Georges says classes are back on schedule after school administrators locked down all school town of Highland schools. Officials are working with federal officials to determine the origin of the call that put the schools on lockdown. Highland Student Services Director Dr. Sherry Mitchell says officials are reviewing best practices, but say they're confident authorities responded effectively.
We're proceeding with the day as if it is. I know we had police presence at each of the schools this morning. We plan to have a police presence at each of the schools today when they leave, and they'll do the same thing tomorrow, just kind of to reassure parents that that we're on guard.
Mitchell says the school will host a roundtable discussion with their one full-time school resource officer on Monday to go over future safety plans. Highland Police are continuing their investigation but say they don't anticipate any further threats. Still to come, Steve Walsh finds out if Indiana is losing a competitive advantage against a neighboring state, and John Kane talks Valentine's Day with the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra. We'll be right back with those stories and more on Lakeshore Report.
Lakeshore Report wants to hear from you. Send your thoughts, concerns, questions, and story ideas to tvfeedback@lakeshorepublicmedia.org. You can also reach us on Facebook and Twitter at Lakeshore Report. Make sure to tweet us using the hashtag NWIPride and you may see your comments on air. Lakeshore Report, providing you region-focused content.
Indiana may be losing a competitive advantage that has been bringing a lot of business to the Hoosier State. But a couple of Northwest Indiana economic experts think that doesn't necessarily mean a lost business opportunity. They told all to Lakeshore Report's Steve Walsh.
So a few years ago, Indiana started its famous Illinois campaign, trying to convince companies to leave the land of Lincoln for the Hoosier State. Some of that was about taxes. Back in 2011, Illinois raised its income tax. That increase is expiring, dropping the state back to a level roughly comparable to Indiana and Wisconsin. So is Indiana now losing its competitive advantage? And what, if anything, can the area do about it? To talk about it, we have Karen Lauerman, who is president and CEO of the Lake County Economic Alliance, and also Micah Pollack, who is an assistant professor of economics at Indiana University Northwest. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Steve. Have we really lost a lot here? Is this a big selling point that's now going away for Indiana? Karen Lauerman.
Absolutely not. When companies are making their decisions to move to Indiana, in particular Northwest Indiana, and in my particular case, Lake County, Indiana, it's a big decision. It's not just a business decision, it's an emotional decision as well. So there's a couple of components for it. But we're not losing any advantage. It's just the Illinois companies are actually thinking about it just a little bit more.
Micah, is this a big problem from Indiana? Have they really been selling themselves as kind of the low-cost alternatives to Illinois?
Well, for the most part, I agree with Karen completely that I think this is not as big a deal as maybe it's being made out to be. It may be time to kind of roll back or scale back the Still Annoyed campaign. This doesn't quite have the same bite anymore. But Karen's absolutely right that there are many factors that go into the decision to move to a state like this, and taxes is certainly an important one, but it's far from the only one.
So in the end, did it work? Illinois, did people really start flooding out of Illinois and moving over to Northwest Indiana?
Yes, actually they did. My previous experience with the Northwest Indiana Forum had many projects come into the 7-county area from Illinois. And in particular, Lake County right now, we have about 12 active projects, and of which there's probably 6 or 7 of them that are relocation out of Illinois. And so, hopefully those jobs, that investment, everybody likes being right across the border because they like being near the city of Chicago as well.
Right. So was it ever really a matter that people just didn't like Illinois and they just wanted to get the heck out of there, and Indiana was the closest stop on the map?
I think probably that's part of it, but it's also good fiscal policy, and also our workman's compensation rate is much lower than the state of Illinois.
Workman's compensation. So some of the cost of doing business. But is it time to get away from the whole notion that Indiana is kind of like the lower tax state and trying to sell ourselves as that? Is it time to move to maybe some something else that might attract businesses here other than just low taxes?
Well, like I said before, taxes are important, but they're
Right.
not the only factor.
Right.
And so I think this just demonstrates that even if taxes go up elsewhere, we have a lot of great selling points here in Indiana, and we maybe need to focus and emphasize those a little bit more as well.
Well, I mean, great location. We have road, rail, port infrastructure. We do have the Gary Chicago International Airport. We have the Porter County Airport. There's also, 2 airports within about 50 miles of here that service international travelers. So there's an opportunity for some foreign direct investment as well.
Did this cause a certain amount of bad blood, though, the whole notion of poaching from one, or is this just what everybody does now, whether you're Wisconsin on the other end, or even we saw people coming in from Texas and the like?
I can actually speak to that from an economic development standpoint. It's just what happens. People are making business decisions based on what their next needs are going to be, where their customer base is, and right now, Lake County, in particular, is within a day's travel of 80% of the nation's population. So we are, sort of the best of everything.
All right. And you don't have to go downtown and fight your way through that
Right.
traffic. Okay.
Yeah, the stakes are high, but I think that's what makes it competitive here as well, yeah.
All right. Well, that's where we're going to leave it. Karen Lauerman, President and CEO of the Lake County Economic Development Alliance, Indiana Economic Alliance, and Michael Pollack, who is Assistant Professor of Economics at Indiana University Northwest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Couples dealing with infertility often use in vitro fertilization, or IVF, to help them get pregnant. In conventional IVF, fertilization of an egg occurs naturally outside the body. Another type of IVF procedure is used when the egg can't be fertilized that way, usually because of male infertility problems. A new study examined when, why, and how often this alternative procedure was used compared to conventional IVF. Catherine Dolph explains in this week's JAMA Report.
Baby Luca arrived safely in this world after Regina Azutsky and her husband underwent several rounds of in vitro fertilization, or IVF.
We tried for, probably a year, and then my son is 2.5 now. So it's just been amazing.
One type of IVF increasingly being used is called intracytoplasmic sperm injection, or ICSI.
ICSI is a type of in vitro fertilization where a single sperm is injected into an egg, whereas for conventional IVF, the sperm is penetrating the egg on its own.
ICSI is mostly recommended when there are problems with the man's sperm or what's called male factor infertility.
ICSI has really revolutionized the treatment of our male factor infertility patients.
Dr. Akanksha Mehta from Emory University School of Medicine and Dr. Sherry Boulay from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and co-authors examined ICSI procedures that used only fresh embryos, not frozen, from 1996 through 2012. They compared ICSI outcomes from the 5 most recent years to conventional IVF procedures. They also looked at whether or not male infertility was present in these cases.
The use of ICSI has doubled since it was first introduced, and the increase has been largely among cases where male factor infertility is absent.
The study appears in JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association.
Those cycles saw a 4-fold increase in the use of ICSI over the study period. The use of ICSI did not improve reproductive outcomes such as pregnancy and live birth rates when compared with conventional IVF, regardless of whether or not there was a diagnosis of male factor infertility.
The benefit of this technology still remains very much only in cases where severe male factor infertility is present that would prevent natural fertilization from taking place.
Despite the challenges, Luca's parents always stayed positive during the long wait for his arrival.
He just makes me so happy, and he's just brought so much to our lives and so much joy.
Catherine Dolph, the JAMA Report.
ICSI is more expensive than conventional IVF, and pregnancies resulting from ICSI have been associated with increased risks of birth defects, chromosomal abnormalities, and autism. Well, a group of local musicians is bringing a little romantic piano music to the region next month. John Kane explains how the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra is making this Valentine's Day a melodious holiday.
Hi, joining me for this edition of Eye on the Arts is Kirk Muspratt, music director and conductor of the Northwest Indiana Symphony Orchestra. Kirk, always a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, John.
Hello. So we have a concert coming up very soon in February.
Big romance.
Valentine's Day. So what's big about it?
And romantic.
And what's romantic about it?
Well, it's on February 13th, the night before Valentine's Day, and we have 2 piano concerti, both gorgeous, beautiful piano concerti, on the first half with Winston Choi. One is the Left Hand Concerto by Ravel, written only for the left hand, and one is the Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini, which our patrons are always asking us for. It is just to
and for
die
those
for.
who don't know it, I noticed yesterday we do have a clip of it on our website.
Yes.
Which is on the symphony's website, that is to say, and it is one of the most beautiful pieces
It is
ever.
beautiful. It makes people cry all the time. Yeah.
So Winston was with us last year.
Yes, and a big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 2 pianists playing last
Right.
year. He's on his own this year.
Yes.
With 2 pieces.
With 2 pieces,
Yeah.
yes.
And so he's really good with his left hand, apparently.
He better be.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And also, John, we have a piano cam for both piano concerti. So for part of each of the concerti, the piano cam will show up on the big screen so you can actually watch him and all that he's doing.
And what else is on this concert?
Well, one of the pieces I wanted to tell you, because you said big romance, is that we're doing a Shadrine piece. Shadrine was married to the most famous ballerina, maybe of all time, Maria Plasitskaya, and he wanted to write a ballet for her. So he took Carmen, the music from Carmen, and he wrote it for huge percussion section and strings. So all across the front of the stage is going to be 15 percussion instruments, marimbas, xylophones, all those beautiful things. And we'll do Carmen, and it's just strings and percussion. It's gorgeous.
That's so nice for the percussionists. They're always stuck in that corner.
I know, and people are always asking about them too. It's a fascinating, family of instruments.
And we sold out our last classical concert.
We did. So you should buy your tickets right now. We sold out the last classical concert, and tickets are going very well
I mean,
this
down
year.
to the last ticket.
Yeah.
Seriously. So that was great. So buy now.
This
Call
one's
now.
even bigger and more romantic.
Exactly.
So.
Thanks, Kirk. Thanks for
Thanks,
being here
John.
to tell us about it. And thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Eye on the Arts. Eye on the Arts is made possible in part by South Shore Arts, the Indiana Arts Commission, and the National Endowment for the Arts, a federal agency. It might harken back to the days of swashbucklers and knights, but if you've got a lot of romantic notions about sword fighting, you might want to shelve those right about now. It's challenging, it's hot, but it's a whole lot of fun. I got to try my hand at fencing on this week's Jump in the Lake. Mark Reiser is a coach with the Northwest Indiana Fencing Club. And Mark, you've been doing this for a really long time, haven't you?
Most of my life, actually. 27 years in October.
Wow. Now, how long has the fencing club been in existence here in St. John?
We have been here in this facility for 10 years.
Wow. What does it take to be a fencer?
The willingness to do it.
So anybody off the street can come in and say, hey, I want to learn how to do this, correct?
Absolutely. There's no prerequisite for becoming a fencer. There are lots of prerequisites for becoming a good fencer.
Okay, but
anybody can do it for
Anybody
fun.
can try it.
The one that I've been doing for a long, long time, saber, is a cutting weapon. Unlike the other two, you can score with any part of the edge. So bottom edge, point, or top 1/3 of the blade. Target is everything above the waist, not including the hands.
Okay.
Foil is a thrusting weapon. It scores only with the point. There's a little button there. So if you hit somebody hard enough to depress that point, wired into the rest of the scoring equipment, and a little light will go off.
Okay.
So that won't score.
Only the tip.
Mm-hmm. Target area is everything covered by the lame, basically the torso. They've just recently, just in the last year, added the throat. It used to not be target area also. So no arms, no legs. And then epee, also a thrusting weapon, a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier than the foil. Target area is the entire body.
And the scoring then on displayed would also be just the tip.
Correct.
All right. I want to see how some of this works. Would you show me?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to protect yourself from my attacks.
Okay.
All right, so come on guard. Now, very, very slowly, I'm going to make an attack down toward your head.
All right.
All right, so what do you think you should do to stop it? That was it exactly. There's nothing wrong with what you just did. To this side.
Whoops!
Okay.
Sorry.
That one's wrong.
This one?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Go back to your on guard.
Okay.
Move it out just a little bit. Now stay right there.
Oh, I see.
You're already there. That's why we teach this is on guard. It already protects that side.
Okay.
This side. That's it exactly.
Okay, that was fast and very frightening.
One more time.
I didn't make it. That way. Okay.
Good. You got the blade up. You didn't
Not
stop
on
it from hitting
time.
you, but you got the blade up. Good. Good.
Oh, you got me. Ouch.
Good. Those are the 3 basic parries.
Okay.
That's how you protect yourself from what I do.
We've only been doing this a very short time, but what you've shown me is incredibly condensed.
Yes, absolutely.
You have regular classes that people can join, and how long are those sessions typically?
We teach an 8-week class that typically happens 4 times a year. 2 months to do the class, 1 month to take a little bit of downtime in between, and then usually again. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. If we don't have anybody signing up, obviously we won't run a class.
Mm-hmm.
And just as likely, if we have 30 or 40 people signing up right now, then we'll run one right now.
I had never fenced before, and I have to tell you that, no, I had a lot of fun. However, I will say that, first of all, if you're new to fencing, the action is just whipping by you. I mean, literally, those swords are just whipping by you.
Yeah, there's such precise movements. I'm sure you really get an intense workout anyways.
I was in a position that most beginners wouldn't be, that you're actually, you know, competing with someone who is very proficient. And it was just like, it was too fast. The action happened before I could even begin to react. Also, it was very warm because you wear layers of stuff for protection, which is really important, but I was in a sweat. Anyway, a great deal of fun, and if you'd like to check it out, then go check out our story online, lakeshorepublicmedia.org. You can see that story and all our stories there.
You can definitely see those type of stories, or you could pitch some information of your own to us, definitely at Lakeshore Report on Twitter. We're always hanging out there. In fact, one viewer from the region kind of was live tweeting the State of the State address, and we did really want people to reach out to us too and tell us what they thought. User Ann Bukowski at Mom Bach tweeted us that what she thought was important from the State of the Union was education with an exclamation point. She said, "Fund our schools," hashtag NWI politics. That was our hashtag for the night. And so she really wanted to see some federal support for our local schools.
I know that we are having a big discussion now about education in the state of Indiana because Governor Pence has made it a priority for us. However, I will say that I know a lot of Northwest Indiana schools are really struggling right now, and it's because of the policies that are being sent down in Indianapolis. So we will look into some of that school funding stuff for next week. We're so happy that you could join us, and we hope to see you again next week on Lakeshore Report.